Hey there, Crashers! My name is Tradgik, and welcome back to another weekly episode. Today is Friday, November 27th, 2020. And before we jump into this video, I want to apologize for there being no weekly video last week. Things got really busy. It's just that time of year, you know, as we kind of start to approach Christmas. A lot of people are getting overwhelmed with things that they have to do before the year ends. So sadly, I didn't get a chance to make a video last week. I'm really hoping that it doesn't happen again, but with the way everything's going lately, I can't make any promises. So I will let you guys know, though, if anything comes up, so follow me on Twitter for posts about that. Like always, links down below. Now with all that stuff said and out of the way, let's just jump right on into it with this week's clip of the week. Now the last few clips have been from personal friends of mine, just things that I thought were fun or interesting. This week I decided to take one from the community, from our very own Paul Blessing. This one here is some sweet moves over in Call of Duty.
On target. Male tango down.
Now, I'll be honest, I can't tell if that was pure skill or pure luck, but nonetheless, it made for a pretty good clip, so thank you very much, Paul, for submitting that. If you guys want to submit some clips, leave a link down below. I know sometimes YouTube algorithms can get rid of it, but for now, it's the only way that I have to be able to submit and share these clips. So, yeah, feel free to leave a clip of yours down below, and maybe you'll end up in a video like this. Now, moving on to a section I like to call Check This Out, whether it be movies, anime, video games, anything in between. This is where I take my recommendations and throw them directly at your face, and this week we're going to be looking at a little CGI movie called A Terrible Fate. Now, this one's actually quite old. I actually heard a bunch of news surrounding it, like the guy got himself a really great job doing some fantastic CGI work for other companies and stuff like that. But essentially, it's this little short film for Majora's Mask, kind of recreates almost like a trailer based around the opening section of Majora's Mask. Now, I'm a huge fan of that game. It's probably one of my all-time favorites, and this is done so well. It just nails the atmosphere. You know, if there were to be voice acting in a Zelda game like to this degree, he just nailed it. Like, especially for like the Majora's Mask characters. It's fantastic. I really recommend you guys check it out. It's only a couple of minutes long. You can find it here on YouTube. I'll try to leave a link down below. Make sure to go and, you know, just give it a quick look. Now, moving on from there, we are getting very close to Christmas. Next month is already December, and I want to talk about my most anticipated game of the month, which hopefully will still come out in December, on December 10th, and that is Cyberpunk 2077. I don't think I have to say much about this, guys. I mean, you guys probably already know more than me when it comes to this game. A lot of people are excited, the whole world around. I mean, this is just something that I think originally got announced in like 2013. We're going on 2021 now, and I just can't wait to get my hands on it. It's such a big, beautiful open world with so many different ways to approach how you build your character. There's not much more I can say. I'm just really hoping that Cyberpunk 2077 lives up to the expectations when it comes out on December 10th. Hopefully. But, like I mentioned, we are actually getting close to the end of the year, and with that comes the Game Awards. Now, there's a lot of different discussion on a bunch of different categories going on right now, but the one I want to talk about is the Game of the Year Award. Now, I have the nominees right here on this computer screen to my side, so I'm just going to read them off real quick to you. We have Animal Crossing New Horizons, Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, and The Last of Us Part 2. Now, these are all fantastic games. I believe I've played at least 4 out of the 6. So, yeah, I definitely have opinions when it comes to what I would personally choose for Game of the Year. Now, looking at this list, though, I want to make some predictions on what I think will win or what has the best shot of winning. And I'm going to lean towards either Animal Crossing, New Horizons, or The Last of Us Part 2. I feel like one of these games is going to win. Just because of the sheer amount of people that loved Animal Crossing and that Animal Crossing was there for them during the whole pandemic, I really think that it has a very strong chance of winning. As well as The Last of Us, this was a game that people anticipated for a very long time. Well, it was very mixed, the reception based on, you know, events that happen in the story. I think overall, when you kind of really break down The Last of Us Part 2, what it set out to do, it did really well. It was very well crafted, fantastic voice acting, fantastic acting just throughout. The gameplay was great and all this stuff. But having said that, neither one of these games are actually my game of the year. I think I'm going to save it for a separate video. But I would love to know your guys' opinions on what's going to win Game of the Year. Out of these ones here, I think Animal Crossing, The Last of Us, and Doom Eternal probably have the best chance of taking it home, because these were games that did have really big fan bases. You heard a lot of people talking about them almost all the time, whereas the other ones kind of had a little bit of hype building up to them and then just like dropped. Or in the case of Final Fantasy VII, a lot of hype about it, but then like after it came out, just people weren't really talking about it much. But yeah, I'd love to share with you guys what I consider to be my Game of the Year for 2020. But like I said, I'll probably do that in a separate video. Now, just really quickly, this month's most wanted game is still Xenosaga Episode 3. I've yet to go and pick it up. Again, with Christmas coming up, a lot of things have been going on. I don't even know if it's still up there. I haven't been up there in a while. But I'm going to keep my eyes open and see if I can get it before the month's out. If not, maybe I'll get it for Christmas. Or maybe I'll just have to set it again for sometime next year. Because, yeah, I don't know. Just got to make way for other things. And fingers crossed that I might be able to get my hands on it. I don't know. Alright, so now we're getting close to the end of the video. There's a few things I want to talk about, mainly surrounding the PlayStation 5 and Demon's Souls. I figured this would be a good opportunity to give my impressions on the PS5 as a whole. I'm starting to get tired of people talking about next-gen consoles, or I guess now current-gen consoles. Everybody's still out there trying to get their hands on a PS5, and it just seems like everywhere you go you hear news about it, and I'm personally starting to get tired of it. So I'm going to try my best to make sure this is the last time I talk about the PS5 directly, at least for a while. Alright, so my impressions of the console. Overall, I'd love to say I'm insanely impressed. Load times are very quick. When the graphics take full effect on actual next-gen games, it's remarkable. Seeing things at 60 frames a second, sometimes all the way up to 120 frames a second, is just insane. The fluidity, the way it moves, even going back to PS4 games and trying those, Genshin Impact being a really good example. I was playing that on my base PS4, the one that I got way back at launch when the PS4 first came out, and then jumping to PS5 was night and day. The game's performance is just insanely better. Seeing games compared like Watch Dogs Legion on the PS4 versus the PS5 version, there's only one big difference, and that is the RTX effects. I have to say there was a moment where I was just walking through the city after it rained, the sun started to come up, and the reflections on the puddles and things like that were insanely well detailed and extremely impressive. But beyond that, I didn't find to be a whole lot of difference in the experience of the game overall. That's with most Ubisoft games. I feel like they still feel almost exactly the same, with just a little ounce of polish added to it. And, I mean, I know that these are cross-generation games. You're going to get a lot of that with cross-generation games. But I wasn't super impressed, except for those lighting effects. Like the RTX effects in Watch Dogs Legion blew my mind. Now, one of the things people talk about a lot is the controller, the DualSense controller. I have shown this off several times already on the channel, and I have to say that this controller is insanely amazing. The tension on the triggers is something that you just have to feel to believe. The HD rumble, like the haptic feedbacks and stuff like that, feels a lot like the Switch. If you've played the Switch and you've done any of those tech demos, like the cubes in the glass bottle or whatever, like the ice cubes in the glass bottle, it feels a lot like that. It is very telling essentially which side is being touched and all this stuff. And one of the things I thought was crazy is going into something like Grand Theft Auto 5, just playing online, the HD rumble actually worked with that, even though it was a PS4 game. When the car would go, you'd feel the engine on the left side, and when you would shift, you'd feel it on the right side of the controller, and it was actually really, really cool. So overall, I'm quite impressed with the controller. It is a little bigger than what I would have personally wanted. I find the shape of the DualShock 4 is insanely good. It's probably one of my favorite controllers, minus the fact that it was very, very flimsy and could break insanely easy. But there are real improvements, like where the options button is and the share button. And yeah, like there's a few other improvements as well. But overall, I'm very, very satisfied with this controller. Now, the UI itself could use some work. I'm not overly impressed with the way that everything is set up. Pressing the PlayStation button versus holding it, it feels like it's swapped from last generation. Closing out of a game on PS4 was almost instantaneous. It was like one press of a button, you could close out of the game. This one feels like there's more steps involved. Not too many more, but still more. Sometimes accessing things like even just trying to find how parties are set up and things like that, or accessing a party, making it private, doing those kinds of things. Like, it's just complicated. Having said that, though, there is a lot of functionality in all the different options that the PS5 gives you to be able to create accessibility options, or, you know, determining how you want to do things like preset your difficulty, preset which mode the PlayStation starts in, whether it's performance or whether it's graphical fidelity. And yeah, overall, a lot of these options are really, really nice. I myself have an external drive plugged in, an SSD, the 3.2 Samsung 500 gigabyte drive, and I'm saving all my PS4 games onto that. I got it plugged into the back on the back USB ports, and as of right now, like, I'm noticing dramatic increases in time for loads. Like Grand Theft Auto 5 went from like a minute something load time to 15 seconds, and it's insane to see the difference. It's actually incredible. Like, the performance boost on last gen games for the most part has been insane. One game I popped in that didn't seem to run super well was Sleeping Dogs, kind of an underrated hit back on the PS4. And that one there didn't really seem to get any kind of benefit for being played on the PS5. It wasn't broken by any means, like there wasn't any like game-breaking glitches, but it just felt uninspired, like when it comes to the difference that you see in some of the more modern titles. One last detrimental thing that I want to talk about is with my PS5 specifically, I have it standing up with the base installed over here next to my TV, and a couple times now where I've turned it on or entered back from rest mode with the disc in the disc tray, I hear a very loud rattling. Now, from what I understand, this might just be me, and my system personally might just be broken. I hope not, but after taking the disc out and like placing it back in, or going to a complete shut off and turning it back on, I've noticed it way less. Like, it almost doesn't happen at all anymore, but it is a little concerning. It could also just be the desk or positioning, because I moved it around a bit and this desk is pretty old, so it could be that too. But that's the only real like issue that I've come into. When I first started Demon Souls on the first time, I popped the disc in to install it, and I jumped in by accident. Like, I accidentally clicked the button, and I didn't want to actually play until everything was downloaded, because it did its like first initial install, but it wasn't fully installed. So I didn't want to play it until it was fully installed. I had other stuff to do anyway. And when I came back to jump in when it was fully installed, it gave me the splash screen, and then the system just turned off. Now, at that point, the system had been on all day. I'd been installing all kinds of different games and all that stuff, and I thought maybe it was an overheating issue, but I'm guessing that it was something completely different, because it's never happened again. The PS5 is whisper quiet once it boots up. After the disk drive kind of does its initial little spin-up thing, it just goes dead silent after that, so there's not a whole lot to worry about there. But yeah, that's where I'm going to end it. I've talked about it a lot. I'm very impressed with the PlayStation 5 so far, and I'm really hoping that it'll deliver some fantastic games in the next few years. Now, I've already gone on much longer than I wanted to, but one of the things I just wanted to cover really quick was about Demon Souls. There was a new door added to the game that for a couple weeks, people had no idea how to access it, but a speedrunner by the name of Distortion2 actually found a way to get in to the door and found a unique armor set exclusive to this version of the game. So that was a pretty fun little mystery while it was going on, and it's really cool every time Bluepoint makes a game. They always add in some kind of new secret to it. Was I wishing it was something more or something crazier? Yeah, I kind of do, but at the same time, it's pretty cool to see this kind of stuff being added into some of our old games, even when the recreation is so faithful, like how Bluepoint handles most of its games. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. Make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. It helps us out a lot. And I will see you guys all in the next video.